You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of Ask Drone U. We've got a very special guest today, and I hope that he is going to help you better understand where some of the drone jobbing opportunities lie. Now, last week, a lot of you heard from Glenn LeBay and the success that he's having in solar inspections. And we've even had Tom Powers on the show previously to talk about the success that he has been having with roof inspections as a whole. But now Tom seems to be actually augmenting those roof inspection jobs with, well, an industry that seems to be growing in the wake of the pandemic and post-pandemic world. We're talking about construction, new homes being built. And a lot of people have been doing construction progression reports, but you hear about it all the time, but only typically with commercial construction or multifamily units. That said, this is where Tom Powers, has not been getting business. He's been getting business in a whole new industry vertical regarding residential construction. So help me welcome our good friend and instructor, Mr. Tom Powers. Tom, how are you doing, bud?
Doing well. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Definitely appreciate having you here on the show today. I know you're a busy man and you're doing a lot of drone jobs, so I appreciate your time.
Yeah, and right before we start, I want to say thanks for putting out that article on the Mavic 3. That looks real interesting, and I think it's going to be able to change the way that a lot of us do our jobs and another tool we can add to our arsenal.
Yeah, do you think that new Mavic 3 might be useful to roof inspections, as you did just film that roof inspection course? And to piggyback that question, I mean, hey, the Mavic 3 looks like it might be made for mapping, so maybe you can do your progression and your roof inspections all in one drone.
You know, whenever I can add an upcharge or an upsell to something, absolutely. So I am waiting with bated breath to see what actually transpires.
Yeah, no, it is very exciting, and thank you very much for saying that. So, Tom, I know you are in one of the hottest real estate markets in the country. In fact, many of you might be familiar. If you've taken your Part 107 test, and the chances of you having a question regarding airspace and Coeur d'Alene, well, you might know this market. And Tom, I know you're in the Boise, Idaho market, and there's a lot of construction going on, a lot of people moving in from California. But you have been doing construction progression on these larger residential homes. So tell us about those jobs and kind of what's involved.
Yeah, so basically it all started one day. Just picked up a phone. Someone had reached out trying to get some pricing information. And, you know, I like to be a little vague on pricing when someone's calling me over the phone. And, you know, I try to get, an actual meeting with them, go over everything, show them a little bit of a portfolio, what we have to offer. Because I think showing them something visually is a great way to actually build your relationship with them and get a, customer that's going to be more frequent than a one and done type thing. So I got a call. He asked me if I could start shooting a house for him. I was like, sure. We don't shoot a lot of real estate videos. We'll do commercial real estate if we get called for it. But the residential stuff, there just didn't seem like there was a really big market for it. But we started doing that. We came up with a price, and really, he's a gentleman who lives in California. He's an architect building a huge 6,000 square foot house here up in our foothills. He was having to fly in every 2 weeks to meet with all his subs, all his contractors, everyone putting everything together. And he's like, there's got to be a better way. And he asked if I could start doing some progression photos for him. And I was really surprised that he kind of had an idea of that. And he wanted aerial specifically. I asked him about if, ground stuff, if he wanted that. And he really didn't have any interest in ground photos. His subs can, text him whatever photos he needs for the interior and stuff going up. But yeah, we started shooting that for him, and it's been great.
So it sounds like from this one job, though, as kind of we discussed in pre-show, that this particular job led to a lot of other recurring revenue jobs. And I agree with one of your previous statements that, getting those repeatable recurring clients is just so important to scale your business and focusing on getting those jobs. But in regards to this residential progression, this is not the only house that you're shooting. Is that right?
That's correct. So it started with one house, and I had done that one for about 2 to 3 weeks or so, just every week doing the normal shots, and we can kind of go over that later if you have some questions on that. But yeah, I was out there flying, doing it, and it's a pretty good sized subdivision, so there's homes going up all around. One of the builders just saw what I was doing, asked me about it, told him what I was doing. And then they ended up hiring me on the spot to start shooting, the other properties that they were building. And most of them were, just down the street. So I could set up all my flight plans, click go, and just watch the drone go, take the pictures, and do all the orbits and all that kind of stuff. And then sit back and send my invoice and collect my fee.
That is awesome. That is really awesome. So help us understand, what are involved in these drone deliverables? I know you said progression shots, and for many of you out there, I think we could all say it's safe to assume progression is typically like, photos from various cardinal directions and whatnot. But help us understand what's included in these deliverables.
So the deliverables are specific to each client or to each property, depending on what they want. And we make sure to establish that beforehand. We lay that out in our contracts with them, just so, everybody's protected. I'm protected, they're protected, so everybody's getting what they want. After we do that and we decide on the deliverables, some will just want, a simple orbit of the property, which is great, easy enough to do. Some will want, the 8 cardinal directions and an orbit. Some will just want a couple specific shots, from off the mesa looking back towards the mountains, just to see what their house is looking like. So it's been a really good mix. I've had a few ask if we could do some modeling of the houses, and that's something that we're looking at getting into and pursuing a little more in the future. But like I said, yeah, it's a lot of people who are just from out of town. They can't physically get to the properties to see it, and it's a great way for them to document, when things are happening. Is the site been graded? Has the foundation been poured? Are they framing yet? Walls up? Is the roof on? And then in a lot of these larger, nicer homes, on the roofs, they're actually putting all the mechanical on there. So you're able to verify, HVAC is in, or a lot of them are putting, generators, like natural gas generators in there too, and all that kind of stuff. And it's been really interesting seeing how it progresses and seeing how fast they can build. And it's really awesome being able to, send your deliverables to your client and you get a nice email back saying, hey, thanks. And then it really helps them keep their subs accountable for what's going on.
I think that's really awesome. So let me ask you, with these photos and videos that you're taking, it sounds like orbital video and photos and whatnot. Do you use any special app to kind of save the missions that you've run to essentially be able to go back and just do the exact same flight plans?
Yeah, so I use Litchi on the smart controller. Fair warning to anybody who is going to do that, you can load it. You have to side load it through Amazon. And, if you're following 107, you've got the controller in your hand all the time, ready to go, interrupt it if you need to, take control. It is buggy, but, what isn't these days? But yeah, the first time we go shoot a property, we go walk it first, look for any hazards, any obstacles that are going to be on it. Then we highlight, what we want to shoot. So setup time for each property is about, 30 minutes on that initial encounter. And then once we do that, we figure out what we want. We're going to go ahead and pre-program the orbits. Most of them want the cardinal directions, so we'll go ahead and pre-program that and get it framed up correctly. And then we just click go, and then it's just, rinse and repeat for the rest of them. So every following week, basically, it's you get there, make sure everything's good, double check your flight plan, and click go, and you're off and rocking.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let me ask you this. Do you think that there is like an upsell opportunity? Are you taking any extra media to produce like a hyperlapse over the course of construction? Do you do anything like that to try to get your clients to purchase them or to promote services to other potential clients?
I do. So I keep hard copies of everything I film on my NAS. It's got a lot of content in there right now, and I've let them all know, all the clients know this. When this project is completed, if you would like me to put together, a hyperlapse of the construction process, we can certainly do that. So all of them are aware of it. In my contract, I do have a clause in there that says if they do want that video and they buy it, at the beginning of the project, they get a pretty decent discount on it there. So just another way to upsell there. But even if they don't, it's still in the back of their mind. And I'm always, when I'm talking to them, I'm always saying, hey, we got these cool shots. As we're orbiting your building or orbiting your house, we can see the subs there, like the people who are stacking all the rock on the side, or if they're building a pool. So you can see them as they're actually constructing everything and see it starting to change.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Is there a particular drone that you like to use for these?
So my go-to is usually the Mavic 2 Pro. It's got a great sensor, and you can't beat the color palette on it. It's so good for that kind of stuff. I wish the frame rates were a little different, a little better on it. But if you're just flying a smooth orbit, it shouldn't be jerky, so you shouldn't run into too many issues, I don't think. But I always carry the Phantom 4 with me as well, just as a backup if I need it. Or when you're shooting stuff on mountains or in mountainous areas, it can be very windy. So sometimes the Mavic 2 just isn't safe to fly, so I'll pull out the Phantom 4. And from what I've seen footage-wise, I should be able to match everything up for those hyperlapses for the week or two that I have to switch drones. And unless it's someone like you, they're probably not going to know.
I think this brings me to one final question, but I know that you have multiple of these homes that you are now shooting. How many of these jobs can you typically get done in an hour or two?
As many as they'll give me. No, in about an hour, I'd say I could probably shoot 4 to 5 pretty reasonably. That's saying that there's, no driving between sites. But I would say, if you have to drive between sites, I would allocate about 10 to 15 minutes on site.
That's awesome. That's super fast. Well, I know I said it was my last question, but I've got 2 more for you. And one we're going to save for members. But when it comes to these projects and acquiring these jobs, what tips would you give for other drone pilots to acquire these kind of luxury real estate progression jobs in your area?
Well, so I'm not going to give the tips for my area because that's mine. But no, in general, I would say look for the higher end housing developments that are going up. If it's a whole community, look for a sales office. Go in and meet with the sales manager, because a lot of them will say, this is your lot, you buy it here. These are the 15, 20 different options of homes you can build. So you can go that route, get in with the sales manager. If it's just, a higher end community and everyone's, buying their own land and bringing their own builder, or, it's a few builders in that area, go take them out for coffee, go hang around the job site, start talking to some of the subs. You can certainly, especially when it gets cold out and people's, and business is cooling off for people and the temperature's cooling down. A lot of those guys who are out there framing, building houses, they create little bonfires on the property to stay warm. So, go stop by Krispy Kreme, get a jug of coffee, take that to them, drop it off, get your name in. Look for the people who are driving the big, fancy, nice, jacked up trucks, because those are the guys who aren't actually working, but they're the ones that are, in charge of the contracts and hiring people. And so get your name out there.
Would you say that the higher the truck, typically the higher of job title as well?
Ooh, that's a real tricky spot to be put in right there. I would say that it's probably a pretty good argument, though. But yeah, no, there's a ton of opportunity in it. And like I taught in the roof inspection course, you're looking at volume here. You're not looking at, one property. You need to give, 4, 5, 6 at a time. And it really is doable with the amount of construction that's going on, especially in this part of the country and in other parts of the country. I mean, there's a ton of opportunity. Just get out there, make the calls. Don't be scared to cold call people. And, there's so much work out there.
Yeah, there really is. What I'm hearing too is you just got to hustle, and you got to know where to prioritize that hustle. And at the end of the day, it's all built on relationships, like we've talked about so many times, right? The Krispy Kreme opens up the door.
It does. It's been a lot of fun. And one of the things that I'm noticing doing these progression photos, I really think it's going to open up new verticals for our company doing other stuff. The permanent record of installation is very important. Have a lot of people want it just for that, so they can track everything going in. Some want it, so they can have their hyperlapse at the end or their progression photos. But I anticipate a lot of these, especially the luxury homes, at the very end when this is wrapped up, they want, an actual photo shoot of their home. Because when I'm doing progression photos, it's rinse and repeat. There's no editing. If I shoot it as an AUB, I'll merge them, and that's about it. Maybe crop a tad, but I'm not doing any post other than that. No color corrections, nothing like that. So it's great. It's easy. It doesn't take hardly any time. But at the end of it, I think, we'll be able to get a nice little upsell saying, hey, it's been a lot of fun shooting your home over the past, 6 months, 7 months. Now let's show you what we can really do. Let's get you a big picture that you can hang in your house, of your house, as a conversation piece, something like that.
I like how you have kind of a client funnel, like an entire client navigation, the progression into the actual media capture. That's smart. I feel like a lot of pilots could benefit from thinking about their jobs like that.
I think so. And, I hear there's a new class coming out from you guys for on the business side showing how to automate stuff. And, I think that's going to be a really good tool for me to add to my business. And I think everyone should take advantage of it if they can.
Tom, in all honesty, I think that we should give you a thank you as an instructor and have you come out to Austin and attend that automation course, because, when you're talking about sending emails out, once you got the client, the initial contact, this automated system would email them what to expect, how media will be delivered. Once you actually upload that media, it's autonomously delivered with autonomous reminders and even an autonomous upsell if they wanted to print any of those photos to drop ship and get that done right away. And then finish the client navigation by putting them kind of in your newsletter or in your quarterly or annual kind of engagement feeds. I mean, it really sounds like that course would even be beneficial to this particular vertical.
Oh, absolutely. I guess I don't have to hire an intern then to take care of all that stuff for me.
Yeah, it definitely helps. It's a lot of upfront work, but man, it saves you so much time. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a powerful course, and we're actually going to launch that on Props because it is one of these courses where it will fundamentally change your business. It will make everything easier so you can focus on doing more jobs like these ones that you're talking about. So I think as a thank you to you, we're going to have you come out to that class. By the way, for everyone, that class is going to be online through the Props program here in October. But the business scaling course is also the last 2 days of the experience training. The experience training is only open to 8 pilots, but the business course is open to 20. So if you want to join us for the experience class, check it out, experience.thedroneu.com. You don't want to miss it. Tom, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And before we let you go, we'll do a formal closure here. But for Drone U members, we're going to have an extra segment of this podcast because we're going to talk about what does Tom actually charge for these jobs and how much does he bring in when he shoots 5 or 6 in a few hours. It might be something that truly surprises you. And since we don't want to give away the farm to everyone, Tom, I think that we should end it here and we can film our segment after we close. But thank you again so much for coming on the show. We do appreciate it. And I know other pilots appreciate the numerous pieces of advice that you've given and through your course.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun, and I love being able to help out and just being involved in the community. It's a blast, and thank you guys for everything that you do.
Well, Tom, thank you for everything that you've been doing in the community. You have been on fire in the new app, and I got to say that new app is a lot more convenient. But Tom, thank you again. If you guys want to learn more about Tom, what's the best website you want to send them to?
No one needs to learn about me. Go on the Drone U site, take classes, and better yourself. Create a better product that you can give to your clients. That's what I'd like to leave everyone with.
Well, I like that advice. And if you want to check out Tom's roof inspection course, it is now available to Drone U members. And if you are a member, you're hearing this podcast, we are going to post another segment to this in the app and in membership. So make sure that you check it out. If you're not a member, you might want to become one. As this information will single-handedly pay for the membership, at least for 1 month. But that's going to do it for us today. Thanks again for joining us for another segment of Ask Drone U.